today marks 10 days since Russian forces invaded Ukraine. Since then, there's been an enormous humanitarian crisis in Europe for the first time in many years. Now, while the United Nations, the European Union and their counterparts are working closely to push Russia to use diplomacy to solve the impasse, Russia continues to seize strategic cities and infrastructure. Joining us now for more on this conversation is Seun Oloriegbe. Seun is a Nigerian medical doctor who has been living in Ukraine since 2008. He's now managed to flee the country to neighboring Poland with his family. Seun, thank you for your time and for joining us on our program. I mean, firstly, it's so good to see that you are indeed safe. I can imagine that it hadn't really been the easiest of journeys to have yourself and the rest of your entire family on your back moving over from Ukraine, rushing for safety, of course, to neighboring Poland countries. Just speak to us about how that journey has been for you and your entire family.
It was not an expected journey. It's not a journey we hoped to make. We knew it was a possibility, but we were never prepared to leave. My journey specifically started after the initial bomb landed near Kyiv, the capital of Ukraine. We got the news that the invasion has started, and we were told to take shelter. But my family, we already had an emergency plan, so we took some clothes, got in our car, and started driving west to the west of Ukraine. And as soon as we got on the road, we realized that this was serious, because a lot of the places where we drove past were actually being bombed as we were driving past it. Right, and then we saw a lot of traffic, a lot of traffic to the gas station, to the supermarket. We just kept driving, and our journey that was supposed to take us 6 hours to the west of Ukraine took more than 12 hours.
Now, Seun, you're describing some of the conditions which not only you but your entire family were subjected to. And I think when we're looking at, the whole scenario where you've only had the ability to only pack just one bag, knowing very well that the conditions won't be in your favor, when we're looking at the freezing temperatures at that current moment, when we're looking at the fact that you and your family do not even know whether you will have anything to eat or a place to sleep in at that moment, I want to find out from you perhaps the exact emotions that you and your family were experiencing. But I mean, when we're looking at some of the visuals coming straight out of Ukraine, there is panic, but I mean, in a sense where we're not necessarily seeing people, breaking down to a point of no return. Just speak to us just how emotionally that has been for you and your family.
I have cried at least 5 times, maybe 6 in the past 7 days. And that is at least 5 or 6 times more than I've cried in the past year, or maybe in the past 2 years. And this is because this is a very stressful situation to be in, because this is the only home we've ever known, at least for my wife and children. This is the only home they've ever known, and this has been my home for 13 years in Ukraine. So to leave not knowing if we're ever going to come back, it's been tough to accept. And I've also seen all the evacuees from Ukraine, including Ukrainian people and Indian people and African people. I see people on the streets here in Poland, and they were just like sitting on the street, just crying. And everybody I see, I hug them, because I know what they are going through, because I am going through the same thing, leaving home, knowing that we might never come back. Even if we do come back, the home we left behind is not the home it was when we left it. So this is the emotions we're dealing with. And for some of us who still have people left in Ukraine, especially in the hotspots, we are also worried about their safety. And this is another layer to the emotion, to the stress that we are currently dealing with.
Seun, during the entire crisis that's unfolding right in front of our eyes, there's also been the very surprising and distraught idea and reports that there was somewhat, rumors or news, let me say, and reports of racial discrimination. And seeing that you are a person of color, can you confirm that this is indeed something that you were also subjected to, or did you even witness it happening to other people around you?
Yes, I have heard about this, and I saw something similar. I didn't personally experience this because when I was leaving, I drove. I went by road. I drove my own car, which gave me a little bit of privilege because I didn't have to compete with a million people trying to cross on foot. But I did see experiences of people who are crossing on foot that the guards at the border, they gave priority to Ukrainian women and children, and especially uh, maybe if not fully raised, what we're telling Africans and Indians, you can wait, especially the men.
Mm.
And this caused like a very desperate situation at the border that uh, the the African students and the Pakistani students, they were begging drivers to say, can you please give us a ride? Please give us a ride. We're already at the border. We are so close to to crossing the border to Poland. Please give us a ride across the border. And I did give somebody a ride in my car, a Pakistani student, but I could see a lot of desperation at the border because there was a priority given to Ukrainian women and children for good reason. But again, all of our lives were in danger, and I don't think maybe this was not the time to prioritize people based on the color of their skin.
Mm. When we're watching international news broadcasts and just some of the visuals that are coming out of Ukraine, especially the border of now Poland, when people are trying to flee for their lives for safety, we're seeing hundreds, if not, thousands of people gathered to sort of help those making, that very dangerous cross. How would you describe, the welcoming of Poland for all of you and your family and the people that you've traveled with?
The Polish people have been very welcoming. I have to be sincere about that. And because Ukraine and Poland has had deep ties before now, and there was a quick mobilization of help starting right from the border. There are volunteers that are offering food, offering shelter, offering warm clothing right from the border. And I myself, right now, I'm staying. My family was staying right now currently with a Polish family who took us in through volunteers, and we stayed in their home right now without pay for free until we're able to get on our feet. And this is a very common occurrence right now in Poland. A lot of Polish families are taking in people from Ukraine, even from other countries, from African countries. I think people in, giving them food, giving them shelter, giving them warm clothing, and just telling them, you are safe now. You are safe now. You don't have to worry. Just eat and sleep and try to distance yourself from the stress that you went through. So in this end, I think Poland has been very, very welcoming up to now. Maybe that might change in the future. I do not know.
Hopefully not. But then when we're looking as well at the response of many other countries and governments across the world, especially looking at South Africa and especially looking at Nigeria as well, have they offered any somewhat sort of help to help you navigate your way around, escaping Ukraine in the form of humanitarian aid? Has there been any communication basically with the Nigerian authorities or officials? Have you tried to reach out to them for help?
I have been to the Nigerian embassy on Sunday. When I got here, it was locked, unfortunately, and there were some Nigerians in the embassy waiting for help. But there were people who were able to coordinate, people who were already in Poland, they were able to coordinate to get the Nigerians coming from Ukraine, get them accommodation in the meantime, get them help. But I do know that now this week there have been evacuation flights from Poland, from Romania, from Hungary, from Moldova. Nigeria actually is flying its people back home to Nigeria. So there have been free evacuation flights, and those who are left here are trying as much as possible to help the Nigerian students here, including getting them a hotel or a hostel until they can be evacuated home.
And I suppose what I'm about to ask you will be a very difficult question, because I can imagine that at the top of your mind right now is the issue of safety. But what next in the next couple of months, days? I don't know how long, the entire crisis will last for. But have you given it much thought as to exactly your next steps moving forward? I mean, the choice of going back to Ukraine now is not there at the current moment. But what are your next plans from Poland?
This is a critical question, and one I've been thinking of. Personally, I have been thinking of either continuing into Europe with my work, because I work for a Slovenian company, and I've been thinking maybe continue to Slovenia, or staying here in Poland, or continuing to other countries. Definitely, Nigeria is an option, but maybe not right now. Because I have a family who are all Ukrainian, who have never been to Nigeria, and it might be too big of a change moving to Nigeria right now. But the option right now is either to stay here or to continue to another European country. Thankfully, I'm a permanent Ukrainian resident, which means that some of the laws that are changing should apply to me or might apply to me. But this is not the case for most students who are evacuating from Ukraine. Their options might be very limited, which might include either going back home or seeking temporary residence in a European country, which is not 100% certainty that they are going to be granted residency.
And just lastly, before I let you go, Seun, there's also been the reports of the issue of, connectivity issues. Some people not being able to make a simple phone call, to Ukrainians. And I can imagine that you've also left behind friends, and I don't want to say that other family members as well, but people that you might know in Ukraine. Have you been able to communicate with them? And I imagine the worry and the concern that people who might not, have the ability to get a hold of their loved ones, the stress it causes.
I have been able to get in touch with my family members, with my in-laws in Ukraine. Although they live in a city that is not as hard as other cities. For those in other cities, it's been inconsistent communication. Sometimes we're able to get in touch, at other times we're not able to get in touch. But up to today, the major communication options, the internet, the telephone lines are still open, and with luck, we can still get in touch with the people in Ukraine.
Well, Seun, thank you so much for your time and for joining us on our program here on Newzroom Afrika. Indeed, we're hoping that you do have a safe stay in Poland while you flee from Ukraine.